Hello friends, welcome back. Let us continue with our discussion related to communication. In the previous lecture, I have talked about directions of communication and barriers to communication and rumors based on formal and informal communication. Today, I am going to discuss about the another aspect of communication in order to map relationships among members in any group, that is sociometry. It is basically a tool, a device in order to map the relationships among members, among group members based on acceptance, rejection, attraction, communication and indifferences. Now, it is very difficult to measure the relationship among members. We do not have any magnitude to measure that this is the degree of relationship between two people. But yes, based on certain assumptions which have been proposed long back by J.L. Merino, that how relationships can be mapped based on certain adjectives that we can assign, attribute to some relationships in form of acceptance, rejection, indifferences or non-communication or communication, that how people are attracted to each other within the group itself, and maybe two members are very attracted to each other, maybe two members are not at all attracted to each others, or maybe there is a member who is not at all preferable or liked by any other members of the group. So, based on the liking, disliking, preferences, avoidance, acceptance, rejection, interpersonal relationships, likings and communication, we can map some relationships among members, which actually ultimately defines informal communication within organizations. So, J.L. Merino proposed a technique known as sociometry, and the purpose for sociometry was for mapping the relationship of attraction, acceptance and rejection among members of a group. So, it is a method of studying interpersonal relationships among group members expressed in terms of choice, communication, attraction, indifferences and patterns of interaction among individuals in a group. And this kind of mapping is known as sociogram. So, we are trying to identify relationship from one person to another person. It is one to one relationship, but how we can map those relationship, one to one relationship through sociogram. So, relationships are reflected through sociogram. It is a diagrammatic representation of interpersonal relationship that exist among group members. So, sociogram represents the sociometric explorations which reveal hidden structures that give groups its form in terms of cliques, that is alliances, dyad, triad or an isolate. Now, here when we are talking about sociometric sociograms, that means the relationships are defined in different forms. For example, dyad and triad, as we have already discussed these terms, dyad is a two people group, triad is three or more than three people group, or it can be an isolate that nobody is interested in talking to him, he is the most least likable person, or it can be about clique or alliance. Within the group itself, maybe 3 or 4 members are so close to each other that they will not allow the other members to join their subgroups as well. So, this subgroup is known as cliques because of some alliances. Within the group itself, 3 or 4 members will try to benefit each other irrespective of the other members of the group. So, how J.L. Merino has identified these relationship? It is through sociograms. This is a sociogram. So, what he performed in the group was, he asked all the members to identify whom they like, whom they do not like, whom they reject, whom they are attracted to, whom they prefer to be their leader, whom they consider any person to be an isolate. So, based on the preferences, it was found that members A, B, C, D. So, this plus arrow A, B, C, D, cliques A, B, C, D, they are the most liked person, they are very much attracted to each other and they are known as star performers. So, people are attracted to each other and they have formed a clique, whereas A is the most liked person, everybody is attracted to him and he is a star. This forms a clique within the group itself, right. On the other hand, E, F, G, they form a triad, they are very much attracted to each other, they like each other, they are more interacting with each other to the maximum. So, they form a triad, just E, F, G, they are triad, whereas I and J, they form a dyad, that means 2 person group, they are very much attracted to each other and interested to interact to any length. Now, again if we see that C and G, C is attracted to G, but G is not attracted to C. So, this is a non-reciprocal relationship where C is responding to G, but G is not responding to C. So, this is a non-reciprocal relationship, whereas H is an isolate. So, H is who is the least likable person in the group and is almost isolate. Nobody is interacting with H, that is isolate. So, this is how a sociogram is representing the types of relationship based on attraction, rejection, interpersonal relationships, liking, disliking and preferences. This is how a sociogram is being reflected. Now, there are another patterns of sociograms that exist in any group. So, what we have discussed right now is something based on the patterns of relationship, that is dyad, triad, clique, star or isolate. Here it is more filtered based on positive choices and negative choices and gender, that is male and female. So, in this kind of sociogram we can see that there is a complete representation of the choices, complete representation of the positive choices, complete representation of the negative choices, and those choices are based on gender male and female. So, here we can identify with direct arrows as positive choices, dashed arrows as negative choices that people do not prefer talking to them, and male and female. So, this is more filtered and more classified based on certain other factors to understand the pattern of relationship that exists in any group. Apart from, sociometry has its own extension in form of sociometric matrices, where we can see that to what extent A, B, C, D is preferring on the J panel to other members. So, A has preferred B to work with and E also, B will prefer 1 and A and E, C will prefer D and E, D will prefer B and E will prefer A, B, A and B. So, based on these scores, that is 0 and 1, like and dislike, prefer or non-prefer. So, every member has given his preferences with whom he or she is more ready to work with. So, based on this score, so A has received 2 preferences, B has received 3 preferences, C has not received any preference, D has received 1 preference and E has received the maximum preferences, that is 4. So, E is the most likable person in the group and most of the people are attracted to him or her and they are more likely to work with him in future. So, this is how we tend to quantify the preferences that exist among members, and it is assumed that the person who has the maximum preference will maintain positive relationship with the other members of the group. Alright. This is another extension of sociometric choice matrix, where A has given positive choice to B and D and negative choice to F and G. That means every member is not only giving positive choices, but negative choices. It is very much explicit. Maybe in the sociometric matrices they are just giving their preferences, right, but in this choice matrix, choice is positive and negative both. So, A as a chooser has given positive choice to B and D and negative to F and G. Similarly, B has given to A and G and negative to E and F. So, if we just go down till G, so we will see that G has given negative choice to A and F and positive choice to C and D. If we calculate those choices, so who has received maximum choices? A has received only 1 choice, that is preferences, B has also received 1, C has received 3 and D has received the maximum choice by all the members, then 3, 0 and 1. Similarly, who has received the negative choices? So, B and F has received 3 choices, they are the most unlikable person in the group. So, total choices of, when we combine of negative and positive choices, then D has received the maximum choices and that too all the positive choices. So, D is a star, we can identify D as a star and he is the most likable person in the group, and maybe he can, based on his decision, can form cliques, dyads or triads. That all depends on the pattern of communication that will exist in future. So, this is how interrelationships are being identified based on sociometry, that is sociograms. So, what are the merits of sociometry? So, it is useful in understanding the interpersonal relationship among group members. It is useful in understanding the group structure, that is to what extent the group is stable and unstable. The more negative choices are there, it is very shuffling, then it is a red flag that maybe the group is not stable and there is more conflict among members. It is useful in studying group effectiveness in terms of productivity and preferences. The more the negative choices are there, it is obvious the group is less effective. It is not that much functional. So, ultimately, in order to improve the effectiveness, that communication pattern has to be enhanced among employees. It helps in understanding the social structure of the group in terms of values, beliefs, stereotypes and prejudice. So, if I go back to this choice matrix, maybe B and F, maybe they are discriminated by the other members of the group, they are stereotyped, they are prejudiced and people prefer not to work with them. So, this can help OB professionals or HR practitioners to identify that what can be the reason that some members are getting very negative choices, why they have been discriminated, why they are being ostracized based on their values, beliefs, prejudice and stereotypes. It helps in gauging counterproductive work behavior such as distrust, bullying or antagonism, that is active hostility or opposition. So, maybe the least preferred co-worker is very hostile, that is why he is in isolate, or what kind of preferences can lead to what kind of counterproductive behaviors. So, if clique is being formed or maybe triad, then it can also lead to some kind of bully behavior. It will perpetuate bully behavior because they are more dominating in that group. So, it helps to identify some kind of counterproductive work behaviors, and it helps groups with team building without breaking confidentiality. So, it helps to protect the group members not to disclose any information to the outsider while keeping the group more intact and bringing the group members more close to each other. But at the same time, it has some demerits also, that it does not promote intensive study for analyzing relationship. So, there is no other technique that can be associated with sociometry or sociogram, that how we can make intensive study of the relationship. Even a dyad and triad, we can just symbolically identify that these two are more attracted to each other, so they form a dyad. These three are more close to each other and interactive, so they form a triad. But what is the intensity of that relationship among three members? That is not possible through sociometry. So, this is one of the demerit of this tool. And most important disadvantage or demerit of sociometry is that there are statistical limitations to inferring relationship among group members. Now, we cannot predict this relationship in future. Maybe for this particular purpose or maybe for a particular period of time, this relationship will exist, this preference will exist. But how to predict these relationships, that whether they will continue in longer run or not, there is no kind of prediction that can be made. So, statistical limitations is one of the demerit of sociometry. But yes, this has contributed a lot. Sociometry as a device, as a tool to understand interpersonal relationship in groups based on communication, interaction, this has contributed a lot in order to understand and render some kind of structure to the organization based on patterns of communication and interaction among members. So, sociometry has contributed a lot in order to enhance communication among members. So, we are through with this unit. We will start with another unit in the next discussion. Thank you so much.